Story time about how I caught my girlfriend cheating on me with my cousin. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. Girlfriend and I have been together for 5 months, and yes, we are both girls. My cousin, who is a guy, works as a club promoter. He's constantly surrounded by girls, so one night he invited me over to his club. When I got to the club that night, he introduced me to this girl. Let's call her Stacy. Stacy and I hit it off right away. She's an Instagram model and owns her own business. I was totally attracted to her right away. We talked and danced the entire night, and after that, we were inseparable. We did everything together, and she started sleeping at my place and I would sleep at hers. And we started partying with my cousin every single weekend at the club he worked at. After a while, I told Stacy that I just didn't want to go to the club and that I wanted to stay home. But she said she was still gonna go. She started going to the club by herself, and after a few weeks I got suspicious. She was really distant and cold. So I did the logical thing. I followed her to the club one night without her knowing. And when I got there, I found her straddling my cousin on a couch, full on making out. It gets really scary and violent from here. Part 2 is up. I see my girlfriend straddling my cousin on a couch, full on making out. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. Because we were inside of a club, there were so many bottles around me. I picked up a bottle and I threw it straight at her back. She turns around and looks at me and quickly gets up. My cousin stays sitting on the couch like the douche he is, and my girlfriend comes up to me, tries to play it off, and just starts laughing. But I was furious. Then she tries to kiss me. I push her and she falls onto the couch. She quickly gets up and tries to punch me in the face. Before I knew it, her and I were just beating each other up, and 4 people were trying to separate us. My cousin elbowed some guy by mistake while he was trying to separate us, and the guy started punching on him. It was like a ball of 10 people kicking and punching each other. The DJ stopped the music and the club lights were turned on. That's when I knew I had to get out of there before the cops were called. I mean, I did start the fight after all. I saw Stacy's phone on the couch and I quickly grabbed it. Stacy grabbed me by the hair again, and that's when I see the cops show up. Part 3 is up. That's when I see the cops come in and I just started running. Stacy ran right after me. People start shouting at the cops to grab us. I was taken outside and a cop put me inside his car. They did the same thing to Stacy. That's when I started crying because I was really sad at the situation because I really love Stacy. And I never expected my cousin to betray me like that. I apologized to the club manager and the cops and they let me go. When I got home, my cousin was waiting for me at my door. That's when he told me the truth. Stacy and him had been hooking up since before I met her, but she just never stopped hooking up with him. He apologized and left. A few days later, I see Stacy posting on Instagram about her new boyfriend. And it's my cousin. But don't worry, I got revenge. Stacy showed up at my apartment to apologize one night. We ended up getting entangled. Now the question is, should I tell my cousin or should I just continue to see Stacy behind his back? What do you guys think? Story time about how I caught my husband with his mistress. My husband and I, or should I say my has-been of a husband, have been married for 9 years. Disclaimer, this is not my story time, it was sent to me. My husband and I also have 2 kids. When we met, I was totally out of his league and he knew it. We met through friends and he made sure to tell all of my friends how much he wanted to be with me. At the time, I was modeling to pay my way through school, so I had no time for a boyfriend. But he got pretty insistent. We went out on a few dates and he treated me really well, better than all the guys I had met at that time. He was a gentleman, always picked up the tab and treated me with respect. So when he asked me to be his girlfriend, I said yes. 2 years later, he asked me to be his wife and I said yes. We were truly in love and best of all, we were best friends. I could talk to him about anything because he wasn't the jealous type. 4 months ago, he asked me for an open relationship. Of course, I said no, and this made him really angry. I got really suspicious and started checking his phone when he'd fall asleep. And that's when I found pictures of him with a girl at a hotel doing naughty things to each other. Part 2 is up. Once he fell asleep, I checked his phone, and that's when I found pictures of him with another girl at a hotel doing naughty things to each other. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. I decided not to confront him. Instead, I started gathering evidence. I started following him around everywhere after I dropped the kids off at school. Mind you, I quit my job because he wanted me to stay at home with the kids. On the first day I started following him, he went to a hotel. Since I didn't want him to see me, I stayed in my car. 40 minutes, he exits the hotel with a woman. By the way, these were not cheap hotels. A few days later, I followed him to a strip club. I checked his bank account and he had withdrawn $2,000 that same day. That's when I really got upset. A few days later, I followed him to an apartment complex. That's when I see a woman opening the door, and it was the same woman from the hotel. My stomach dropped. After about a week, I mustered up the courage to go talk to her. When she opened the door, she recognized me instantly. She tried to close the door in my face, but I pushed my way in. Then the coward ran to her room and locked herself in there. My husband's mistress runs to her room and locks the door when she sees me. What a coward. I ran right after her and I told her that I wasn't going to hurt her and that I just wanted to talk. Of course, she asked me to leave, but I told her I wasn't going to move an inch until we talked. She comes out and we proceed to talk for 3 hours. She explained to me that she's an escort and that my husband pays for her apartment. She also told me that she wasn't in love with him and that she really only needed the money. This made me very happy. She also told me that aside from paying for her apartment, he gave her an allowance of $3,000 a month. Oh yeah, and that she knew about me and the kids. That's when I lost it. I took my pepper spray out of my purse and sprayed her. Fortunately, it didn't directly hit her in the face, but it still got her. I went straight to a lawyer and presented all the evidence. When I got home, my husband asked me how I found out. I showed him all the evidence and he was stunned. He's begging me not to divorce him because he knows it's going to be really expensive. I kicked him out and he went to his mom's house. His mom was angry and she didn't let him stay there. How much should I ask for? Story time about how I found my boyfriend with his best friend. My boyfriend and I have been together for almost 6 years. We met in cosmetology school. We both had a love for makeup and hair. While in school, we decided to partner up and open up our own little business. I started liking him from the moment we met, but he never made a move on me. And I was not used to that. So we were friends for a few months. One night, we went out with our friends and we got a little drunk and one thing led to another and I kissed him. He kissed me back and after that, we were inseparable. We even moved in together and we talked about marriage. But ultimately, he would never propose. I always asked him when we were going to get married and he just never had an answer. His best friend, let's call him Roger. Roger was a great guy and he always hung out with us. I liked him. They would hang out all the time and I never thought anything of it because they were best friends. One day, Roger made a comment about my boyfriend being really good looking. I brushed it off, but a few days later, I walk into our apartment and there they are on the couch doing stuff. I literally passed out. Part 2 is up. I walk in on my boyfriend and his male best friend on the couch doing things to each other. I actually fainted as soon as I saw it. All the blood rushed to my head and I passed out. And when I came to, they're both standing over me half naked. My boyfriend picked me up from the floor and put me on the couch. And Roger went to the kitchen to get me a drink. I felt dizzy and I couldn't even speak. I blurted out, "You're gay?" Then my boyfriend started crying. He said he didn't mean to hurt me and that he never wanted to waste my time. I asked him how long he'd known that he was gay. And he said for a few years. That meant I was wasting all of my youth on him. I could have had children. I could have been married already. I was so upset. Then guess what? My boyfriend says he's gonna go stay at Roger's place so that he can give me some space. Of course, I begged him not to leave because I knew that would be the end of us. I thought we could work through this. He packed his stuff and left. Part 3 is up. My boyfriend left me for his best friend, who's a guy. A few days passed by and I was super devastated. That's when my boyfriend comes and knocks on my door. Then he gave me the worst news of all. He told me he was gonna marry his best friend, Roger. He explained to me that they had been in love for a long time, but they never told each other anything. It was only until recently that they started hooking up. Looking back, it all makes sense. He and Roger would hang out all the time and I was never invited. Roger even got my boyfriend hired as a makeup artist at his job. They were constantly together. But at the same time, I had never seen my boyfriend so happy. He said he could finally be himself. This is when I realized that it was for the best. I stopped begging him to get back with me and I started dating other people. They even invited me to their wedding, which was beautiful. Now we have dinner a few times a month and I've got a new boyfriend. Life is crazy. Story time about how I got arrested for stalking my celebrity crush. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. When I was 15, I saw my celebrity crush for the first time in a movie. After that, I pretty much went to all of his movie premieres and events. I was able to take a picture with him and even got his signature. To say that I was obsessed was an understatement. Now, here's where the problem began. He started dating this woman, aka another celebrity, and I pretty much lost it after that. At the time, I was living with my mother and she couldn't help but notice the change in me. I started staying out pretty late, mostly because I was out in the city looking for him. I knew all of his hangout spots because the paparazzi always caught him there. So I basically would hang out everywhere he would. I followed him to his house, I followed him to the gym, and I followed him to the grocery store, pretty much everywhere. I decided to sign up to his gym, and I started talking to him, and he started talking to me, and he asked me out on a date. Part 2 is up. After stalking him for a while, my celebrity crush asked me out on a date. But he didn't know I was stalking him, of course. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. On the date, he pretty much only talked about himself. He told me he had just broken up with his ex, which I knew that. And I basically pretended not to know anything about him. There was lots of awkward silence and I just couldn't help but stare at him the whole time. That's when he asked for the check and paid for dinner. I was totally expecting him to ask me to go back to his place. Well, when he didn't, I was really disappointed. So I did the logical thing. I invited myself over. That's when he told me that he couldn't because he had to get up early. After that, I didn't hear back from him at all. So I decided to go to the gym where I knew he was going to be. But when I tried to say hello to him, he told me to stay away. Then he asked one of the gym employees to escort me out. And when I got home, the cops were waiting for me to arrest me. They showed me pictures of me stalking my celebrity crush. Part 3 is... As soon as I got home, the cops were there and they arrested me. And they showed me pictures of me stalking my celebrity crush. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. Since they had all this evidence and my face on the pictures, I couldn't say it wasn't me. They told me that after our date, my celebrity crush got a really bad feeling from me. So he decided to install cameras around his house and in his car. And well, that's when he caught me stalking him around his house at odd hours and following him in my car all the time. I was taken to court and told I had to go to therapy. Apparently, he felt bad for me though and didn't want to press charges. He did get a restraining order, so I definitely can't go near him. The good news is that I have another celebrity crush. Yay! Story time about how I almost got arrested for selling my mom's underwear. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. My mom is a total MILF. She used to be in music videos back in the early 2000s. So obviously, I had to find a way to monetize this. When I turned 16, I knew that I wanted to start making my own money. I had heard about people selling pictures of their feet on the internet, so I thought, why don't I try that with my mom? By the way, I am a dude. So I got on Google and started searching how I can sell my mom's pictures, specifically of her feet. So every time my mom would go to get her pedicures done, I would just offer to take pictures of her feet for Instagram. She thought this was really weird, so she would say no. Would try to sneak pictures every now and then, but she would always catch me. So eventually I scrapped that plan and I moved on to her underwear. I found a website that was talking all about how you can sell your own underwear, and obviously since I'm a dude, nobody's gonna want to buy mine. And I know, what I'm about to say is pretty gross, but I started stealing my mom's dirty underwear. So obviously I had to start keeping track of every time my mom showered. I would go into the bathroom and steal her underwear. Then I would put them in Ziploc bags, and this was the best way to conserve any, and then I would mail it off to dudes. Well, within a month, I was making at least $500. But my mom started freaking out because she couldn't figure out where all her underwear went. She asked me about her underwear, but obviously I played it off like I had no idea what she was talking about. After about 3 months, things were going really well. I was selling my mom's underwear sometimes for $100 a pop. And here's a gross detail, but guys wanted my mom's underwear, especially after she exercised. Totally disgusting and weird, I know. Things were going way too good. I was making tons of money, and I was able to buy myself all the things that I wanted. My mom, of course, started noticing all this new stuff that I had in my room. Well, little did I know, but my mom had installed cameras in her bathroom and in the house. So basically, I was being filmed every second of my day. But of course, I had no idea, so I just kept doing what I was doing. I would wait for my mom to shower, then I would steal her underwear and ship it off to these dudes. I was home alone one day, and there's a knock on the door. And when I opened it, it's the police. They had a warrant to search my house. Of course, my mom comes home and she explains to me that she installed cameras in her bathroom and that she caught some dude stealing her underwear. I literally couldn't believe they hadn't figured out it was me. So I totally played it off and acted like I was shocked. Then my mom called me into her bedroom and started showing me all the footage. It was totally obvious it was me. Then I got handcuffs put on me. Then my mom busted out laughing. She said that they wouldn't arrest me, but that I needed to learn my lesson. The cops warned me, saying that if I ever did that again, I could definitely get arrested. But when they left, my mom asked me how much money I'd been making. When I showed her how much money I'd been making, she said, "Let's keep doing this. We're still in business." Storytime about how my husband is threatening to cheat on me unless we have a 3-person sexy time, if you know what I mean. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It's sending me an Instagram. My husband and I have been married for 5 years. The first year we were together, we had kids. We have 2 kids now, and they are my priority. A year ago, my husband started complaining about how I don't pay any attention to him anymore. I started doing my best to try to give him more affection and just more time with me, but it's so hard with the kids. My husband does help me with the kids, but he works a lot and goes to the gym a lot. So when he's not home, it's basically my responsibility to do everything for the kids. They never tell you how hard it is to have kids and how hard it is to look after yourself and your relationship. I suggested we have date nights, but we still haven't gone on any. I told him that we should just go to the beach and hang out on our own, but he kept making up excuses. A month ago, he asked me if I would ever consider having a 3-person sexy time. I hope you understand what I mean. I told him I wouldn't be comfortable with that, and he said okay. A few days after that, he asked me again. This time I probed and asked him why he was saying that. That's when he confessed that the only way he can stay faithful is by inviting someone else into our bedroom. I was really heartbroken. I never expected him to say anything like that to me, so I just started to cry. Then he got angry because I started to cry and told me that he needs to have more fun in this relationship. I asked him if he had already cheated on me, and he swore that he didn't. The kids were in the other bedroom, so I didn't want to start another argument. I let it go, but I couldn't stop thinking about what he had told me. That's when I got scared that he might actually cheat on me. I started becoming really insecure, and he hated this. I started asking him almost on a daily basis if he had cheated on me. He kept denying it, so I believed him. A few days later, we got into a fight about the kids. Out of nowhere, he starts threatening to cheat on me unless we have a 3-person sexy time. This time, he wouldn't let it go. He told me he would find somebody to cheat on me with, but for me not to worry because it wouldn't mean anything to him. He was basically asking me for permission to have an affair. I felt hopeless, so I finally accepted his offer. That's when he got really excited and started showing me pictures of girls at the gym. He told me he'd been talking to a few already and that he could get one of the girls to come to our house that very same week. Part 2 is up. Part 2 of how my husband is threatening to cheat on me unless we have a 3-person sexy time. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. Send me an Instagram. That's when he told me that he could have a girl come to our house this week. Felt like I had no choice but to accept because I didn't want him to cheat on me. Later that night, I asked him who he'd been talking to at the gym. He told me there were several girls at the gym that would flirt with him every single time, and that one of them had offered to come to our house. I couldn't get it out of my head that he had probably already cheated on me with one of these girls. I mean, why try to involve me when he could do it on his own with them? A few days later, he told me there was a girl that was willing to come over to our house on Friday. That's when my husband asked me to go get wax waxed and to go to the salon and do something to my hair. So I went to get waxed and got highlights at the salon. I won't lie, I actually felt really good after this. When my husband saw me later that night, he said I looked amazing. One thing about me, I've always been pretty athletic. And since having kids, my body has snapped back. I'm not very self-conscious about my body, but the thought of having someone else in our bedroom just made me feel gross. She finally arrived and I was expecting a young hot thing. This woman was in her 40s. She was 12 years older than me, and she was not in very good shape. By the way, we left the kids with a babysitter, so don't worry. We all went up to the bedroom, and my husband poured us glasses of wine. That's when my husband kissed the woman. Part 3 is up. Part 3 of how my husband is threatening to cheat on me unless we have a 3-person sexy time, if you know what I mean. Disclaimers to know my story time is sending me an Instagram. The 3 of us were finally up in the bedroom. My husband leaned in to kiss her and they were making out for about 30 seconds. Right in front of me like I didn't even exist. That's when it hit me and I realized what we were about to do. I was in my own house, in my own bedroom with a random woman who was older than me, and no offense, I thought I was definitely more attractive. Finally, when they stopped kissing, I tell my husband I can't do this. That's when he gets really angry, grabs me by the arm and takes me into the hallway. He tells me if I don't do this, then I should just leave the house because he's still gonna do it with her. And that from now on, he would be able to do whatever he wanted because I wasn't willing to cooperate. Thankfully, the woman came out of the bedroom and told my husband that it wasn't worth it if we were going to be arguing. He begged her not to leave. It was pathetic. But of course, she left anyway. That's when he grabs his things and tells me he's going to the gym. Cried for 3 hours and went to pick up the kids. When my husband got home, he apologized and told me that he probably overreacted. Probably? Then he starts begging me to please reconsider doing it again with the same woman. That's when I asked him if he had a thing for older women. I told him that I was much more attractive and younger than this other woman, so why did he want her? Then he confessed that his thing is older women. Then he asked me what was the oldest I would be willing to go. I told him I didn't know if I even wanted to do it with someone else. That's when he started threatening again. He said he'd go do it either way and that I would just have to deal with it. That's when I told him that maybe we should just consider getting a divorce. He got so angry he smashed a glass on the countertop. After I let him calm down, I asked him if he'd already been having an affair with that woman. He keeps denying it, but something's telling me he already did it. Told me he wouldn't give me the divorce because he loves me. But he's also saying he's gonna cheat on me. I'm seriously considering inviting the woman back over just to please my husband. I know that's just gonna lead to bad things. I asked my best friend and she told me to just go through with it. And that if I have to save my marriage by having other people in my bed, then I should just do it. But I just can't bring myself to saying yes. I told my mom and she told me to get a divorce no matter what. She guarantees that he's already cheated. Should I say yes or should I leave him?
For some weird reason, my mother-in-law really wants to go into our bedroom whenever she comes over. On one occasion, I followed her as she went upstairs. I was going to get something for my child as the bedrooms are upstairs, and she walked past the bedroom on the main floor and up the stairs behind it. She didn't hear me and I caught her walking straight into my room and rifling through bills on my dresser. She denied snooping, even though I had just watched her do it, and she said she was just going to use our bathroom because she couldn't find the other ones. She walked right past the one on the main floor and the other one in the upstairs hallway to go into our bedroom. Since that happened, I installed an exterior doorknob that requires a key on our bedroom door and one to the door to our office and spare bedroom. However, she's still always forgetting where the bathroom is and trying the bedroom and office door. This really takes me off. My husband says that I just get annoyed at this because everything she does drives me crazy, and since we've put locks on the rooms we don't want her in, there really isn't a problem anymore. Well, over the holidays we had my in-laws over for dinner, and before they came I was searching for the bedroom keys. We hadn't used them in a while since we only lock the doors when my mother-in-law comes over. My husband told me that we didn't need to lock the doors since she wouldn't try to get into the rooms, and I insisted that she would because she loves to snoop. We went back and forth and decided to cover the doorknobs in super fine glitter to see if she tried them. I did this once before, but my husband didn't believe me about that snooping to prove that she'd been in the rooms. Last time she ignored the glitter and we didn't say anything about it, but then my husband couldn't deny that she tried to snoop. So this time I covered the knobs in glitter, and for the office went a touch further and rigged a little folder of glitter over the door to the office before the in-laws came over. I left it one side unlocked, French doors, and it was set so if you walked into the room you would get covered in glitter. My husband goes out of his way to show his mom the main floor bathroom when they got here and specifically asked his parents and sister not to go upstairs. There's a baby gate so the kids can't get upstairs either. Well, guess who had to go to the bathroom and got covered in glitter and had it all over their hands and hair? She completely lost it and started screaming at me, so I yelled back, and now my husband is saying I went too far and that I'm an asshole. My mother-in-law also says that I'm an asshole, but my sister-in-law says I didn't do anything wrong and my mother-in-law deserved it for snooping. My father-in-law is Switzerland. Apparently her car is ruined now too because it's covered in glitter that she can't get cleaned up. Am I the asshole for setting a glitter trap to catch my mother-in-law trying to snoop? We hired a housekeeper that comes over several times a week to get the house clean since my husband and I are busy with work. We have 2 kids, Jeremy 16 and Raya 14. Now Jeremy's a jokester. He likes pulling pranks on everyone in the house, and that included the housekeeper. He did stuff like throw her purse and hide her wallet, and he got punished for it and told not to do again because our housekeeper almost quit and we didn't want that. A few days ago, I got a call from Jeremy while he was having friends over to tell me that he saw the housekeeper sneak one of my jewelry into her purse and asked me to come home immediately. I freaked out and tried to call my husband, but he didn't pick up. I went home and I was mad, and I talked to the housekeeper and she denied putting anything in her purse. That's when I demanded to see her purse, and my jewelry was in fact there. The housekeeper started swearing on her children that she didn't put it in there and that she had no idea how it got in there. I believed her and figured that Jeremy had something to do with it given his history. I switched my attention towards him and had him explain to me exactly how he saw our housekeeper do it. He told me what he saw, but a friend of his came forward and said that he saw Jeremy put the jewelry inside the lady's purse and was trying to get her in trouble. Jeremy yelled at his friend and then told me it was just one of his pranks, but I was furious. I kicked the rest of his friends who covered for him out, and I punished him hard and apologized to the housekeeper. However, my husband reacted unexpectedly after he heard and said that I was wrong for choosing to believe the housekeeper over our son even though there was a witness, but he said his friend must have said this to get him in trouble or because the housekeeper paid him to side with her, which was shockingly absurd of him to say. He said I wasn't being a good mother, and my first instinct is to always believe my son in whatever he says and never question him in front of his friends like that. I'm honestly so confused. Did I mess up? Am I the asshole for believing my housekeeper over my son?
Am I wrong for telling my girlfriend to cover up her body when strangers enter the home? Oh, you are treading on thin ice, my friend. Here we go. This is the first sentence. I am fully aware that the title sounds sexist, but hear me out, please. My girlfriend comes from a wealthy background and grew up with maids, chefs, chauffeurs, etc. I was raised in a completely opposite environment and still adjusting to dating someone like her. When we're not with her parents, we spend a lot of time at one of her apartments. Here's the issue. My girlfriend likes to walk around home barely wearing anything, which is fine, awesome even, but she does this even when the help are around. For example, last month, her family hired a new driver for her. He stopped by the apartment to introduce himself, and she was only wearing her underwear. Keep in mind, this is the first time they've ever met in person. I felt awkward, he was visibly awkward, and she didn't give a shit at all. She was casually chatting to him while scrolling away on her phone. She does this all the time. She doesn't think she needs to wear any decent amount of clothes at all when people that work for her are around. She will casually walk around wearing just a thong or a tiny crop top. Just a crop top, nothing else. Okay, see, you saved yourself. The title was a little fishy, but now I understand your concern. She even does this with complete strangers. One time she opened the door for the delivery guy wearing only a see-through gown. You could see everything. Afterwards, I talked to her about it and she was utterly confused as to why I felt uncomfortable. Then she laughed and told me to stop being jealous, baby. She even said that I'm unreasonable. We had another discussion about this yesterday and I told her that she probably wouldn't feel comfortable if I did the same. She said that she doesn't understand why I care what her staff think and that it never even crossed her mind that this is inappropriate. She told me that she only does this in the comfort of her home and not in front of actual people. An example, people that don't work for her. She got kind of mad at me and vented to her friends. According to all of them, I'm weird for having a problem with this and I'm an asshole for telling my girlfriend to cover up. Somehow, I'm the villain of the story. So, am I really the asshole here?
Am I the asshole for bringing a homophobe to my gay cousin's engagement dinner? I was so happy to be invited to my cousin's engagement dinner. We were really close growing up and went to college pretty far from each other, so it was exciting to see him again. I brought my boyfriend as I wanted him to meet my extended family and assumed he'd be my date to the wedding. The first part of the dinner went well and my cousin's fiance was absolutely delightful. Things went south after the main course was served though. My boyfriend said he doesn't understand why gay people feel the need to get married and they make such a fuss over it when they aren't really married in God's eyes anyway. The whole table went silent and my cousin looked understandably hurt. This was a shock as we hadn't been dating long and we never discussed religion and he never said anything like this. Am I the asshole for bringing a homophobe to my gay cousin's engagement dinner? I got up and asked him if he'd go with me outside to get some fresh air. When we got out there, I asked him what the F he was thinking and he said sorry if I was too blunt. But he felt compelled to be honest. I said that's not something I will be able to move past and asked him to go ahead and leave the restaurant. When I returned to the table, I apologized for his rude behavior and said he would not be coming back. My cousin said nothing and didn't even look at me for the rest of the meal and we all tried our best to keep talking throughout the rest of the meal, but it was uncomfortable. After the meal, I went to tell my cousin bye and apologized to him personally. Before I could, he yelled at me and said I ruined a special night for him and how could I invite a bigot?
I never really saw you coming until you turned me around. I used to think I was nothing, but look at this love we found. So give me your hand, like you took mine. No, I don't ever wanna see you cry. Oh, yeah, no more tears. Oh, yeah, no more tears. Take that chance, we'll be fine. No, I don't ever wanna see you cry. Oh.
My wife made me choose between a vasectomy or no sex. I chose no sex and now she's mad. My wife and I have been married for 7 years and have a 3-year-old daughter. We both agreed that we only wanted one child, so we are good. She recently told me to get a vasectomy because we weren't going to have any kids anymore and she wanted to stop taking birth control. She told me that her friend's husband got one and that they are having a good experience with it. I told her that I get that she wants to stop taking birth control and I fully support her decision, but that I will never get a vasectomy because I don't feel comfortable getting one and I will not alter my body if it isn't necessary and that I will never change my mind about this. I suggested that I can just wear a condom like I used to when we first started our relationship, so she doesn't need to take any form of birth control and we can continue our sex life. She basically got mad at me over this, and even told me that if I don't get a vasectomy, we will not have sex anymore. I made it clear that I'm willing to wear a condom every time, so there isn't a problem. She told me that I'm either getting a vasectomy or we aren't having sex anymore. I like having sex, but I'm not some desperate loser who is going to beg for it and do something that he doesn't want just for sex. So I told her that I guess we aren't having sex anymore. This was 2 months ago. It's unfortunate that we aren't having sex anymore, but it's not like my life depends on it. So at the end of the day, I'm good. My wife, on the other hand, is not taking it so well. A couple of days ago, she got mad at me for not wanting to have sex with her, and that I think my seed is more important than our sex life. She also said a bunch of other things to try and tell me to get a vasectomy. But just like before, I told her no, and I made it clear to her that I'm willing to wear a condom. Again, it is unfortunate that we aren't having sex, but at the end of the day, I'm good. I don't want this stupid fight to lead to anything more, and want a healthy way to deal with this. How could I make it clear to my wife that she is making a big deal out of this for no reason? Something like, this shouldn't be a big deal for us because we have gone through so much more. Edit. I like how some people have worded this. My body, my choice. And now in the comments, I wish all the people would quit picking on the OP. Why is it so hard to understand his seed is so much more important than his relationship with his wife? He will never be able to father a child ever again. You know how hard that is on a man to not be able to become a father again when they are not planning to? Yes, he is in his late 30s and not planning on having any more children, but still, he will not be able to if he changed his mind. Say if his wife changed her mind and wants another child, what would they do then? If this ever happens, she's going to be grateful for the wise decision her husband made about putting his seed above them having a sex life. I feel like the best approach would be you guys just need to talk about what your reasons are for your stance. Why is she so against condoms? There may have been a reason you guys stopped using them previously and then switched to a hormonal method. Did she have a sensitivity or allergy? Or is it just personal preference? Same with your vasectomy. Are there particular reasons why you don't want to get one? It is your body and your choice, but worth explaining to her why you are against it. Ultimately, if neither of you are willing to concede, then you are probably going to have to separate. Sex is an important part of most relationships, so you are going to have to decide between what is most important, both being adamant about your views and probably separating, or one of you taking one for the team and saving your marriage. This, though, it really is your body, your choice, for both of you here, but you are both going to have to accept that this may be a marriage-ruining impasse, if so. Neither of you want more kids, and don't want to have sex without some form of birth control. The only form of birth control she will accept is the one that you won't accept. You have a right to not alter your body, she has a right to not alter hers, or to continue using hormonal birth control. But it is a fundamental, sex-ending, and therefore likely marriage-ending, impasse, without a solution unless one of you caves completely, because it doesn't seem like there is a middle ground solution. I also think she's feeling a bit resentful because she put her body through changes and side effects for years for both of your pleasure. Hormonal birth control are no joke. And when it comes to her asking you to put your body through a change, you are not willing to compromise. I also think, by the way OP is talking about it, there is very little empathy towards her, and maybe why she is making that choice. You guys need to remember you are a team and talk this out. I understand both sides here. I don't trust condoms. They rely on perfect use, and my preference has always been to use condoms with birth control pills. Birth control pills always have a ton of side effects for me, so I understand at some point throwing my hands up about them and just being over it. She doesn't want more children. OP agrees, there is no pill-type solution for men, which is a damn shame since the research into men's options was only stopped because of the side effects, which were the same side effects women's options have, and I can't understand that. So that leaves a vasectomy, which you don't want for reasons. There is no solution here, so no sex. If you don't want a vasectomy, you don't want one. That's fine. I can't fault her rationale here though. I didn't demand my husband get a vasectomy because a tubal was much more invasive, but I did ask him to after our child, and he agreed to. He was down for 1 day and recovered no issues. We aren't worried about reversal though. I'm not saying there is no possibility of issues though, it is still outpatient surgery. And now on to the update. Since the last time, a lot has changed. Like a lot of you suggested, I started to communicate honestly and open with my wife about everything. We heard each other's concerns out and were able to understand each other better. This already cleared up a lot of the tension we have been having over the past few months. We also had our first session of marriage counseling, and this cleared a lot of things up for us. Our counselor basically explained that when we both have sex, whether that is with protection or not, we have to accept the fact that there will always be a risk of pregnancy. And if we want to completely eliminate this risk by undergoing a surgical procedure, that this is a personal matter that we have to decide for ourselves, and we can't push on our partner. This also cleared a lot of the tension between my wife and I. We even started having sex again using a condom because we both felt comfortable with it and it was great. We also discussed different options of contraception, and we are looking into more the use of a copper IUD since this does not contain hormones and doesn't affect the act itself. But for now, we both feel comfortable using condoms and might just stick to it. My wife even said she might look into getting tubal ligation, and I'll support any decision she decides to make. All in all, things seem to get better, and we will both keep working on our marriage. As someone who has a copper IUD and loves it more than basically anything else I own, I'll be the first to tell you that it absolutely does affect the act itself, as well as every period she has for the rest of her life. Also, I hope she decides on neither. Both will be far more traumatic than a vasectomy. I know it's just one person's anecdote, but getting a vasectomy was the best decision I ever made after we had our second. Had the initial consult, procedure in the office was a couple hours from arrival to departure, followed by maybe 24 to 36 hours of ice packs and a few verification tests weeks later. Ever since, not a single problem. Even made getting inguinal hernia surgery a few years later far easier because the surgeon didn't have to safeguard the spermatic cord in the same area as my hernia. Yes, it's your body and your choice, but it also has an impact on the marriage. If your wife is considering tubal ligation instead, I feel sorry for her. That's abdominal surgery, even when done laparoscopically. She's going to be laid up for at least a week, and depending on how her healing progresses, could be as much as 3 weeks. Hope you're ready to take over 100% of the household duties while she heals to help maximize her recovery. And our next story is titled, Me, 26 female, with my daughter, 4 female, mother, 30 female, at her kindergarten brainwashing her. So I don't even know what title to put to this. It is completely absurd. I am a working mother of an adorable 4-year-old girl, Katie, have a really good job which I landed straight after uni. My partner and her father, let's call him Jay, is completing his PhD. Due to our workload, our little one is going to a small kindergarten near our place. One day my daughter came up to me for cuddles after work and asked, "Mummy, when are you gonna stop working?" I assumed she meant when I'm taking my summer holidays off, and I told her in a few months so we can visit Grandma and Grandpa. After further discussion, I realized she meant when am I quitting my job permanently. I asked her what made her think so, and she said, because mummies are for home, daddies are for work. I was dumbfounded and asked her where she heard this. I was pretty upset as that was the opposite of what I want to teach my kid, and she definitely did not hear this from my partner or myself. Visibly upset, I asked her how did this occur to her, but got no answer from her. I went the next day at school and asked the teacher whether such discussions have been made in class. She said no, and I went on my way. On the next few days, my daughter became more distant and started saying that I am not a good mummy and that she doesn't like how Daddy or Anna, her babysitter, pick her up from care. I am the one who drops her off, and in general, complaining mostly about me having to work. I sat her down again calmly and asked her what's going on. Those things have never been a problem before in my family, and she seemed to enjoy her after-school time with Dad or babysitter. Again, she didn't say anything and just asked me when she can go play with her new friend from daycare, May. Being at my rope's end, I asked my pedo-psychologist friend to sit down and have a chat with my daughter and see where the problem lies. Lo and behold, May's mum, who had been supervising their playtimes a couple of times, and at whose place my daughter has been, was making digs about me being a working mother. May's mum, Jen, is a homemaker, while her husband works in the banking sector. She seemed quite pleasant, and I've been around their place a couple of times before, accompanying my daughter. Due to this, I trusted her to supervise my kid and have her at her place. I should mention that she has been insisting that my partner and I visit her place more often, but with a job, a PhD, and a kid, it's impossible. Anyway, from what my friend told me, the drilling has been going on for a couple of months, and Katie told her that her mum's friend always does all those nice things, and asks her if she likes that she is always home making all those nice things, and making herself pretty. Like, really? I cannot even believe I'm typing these things. I cannot believe this is happening. I haven't confronted Jen yet, but I think I should. What do I say? I don't want my daughter to lose her friend due to her crazy mum, but for now, these two haven't been hanging out much outside of daycare. My daughter is still pissy and complains at her dad and Anna when they come to pick her up every single day. And now in the comments, because you haven't spoken directly yet to May's mum, I would bring it up in conversation with her that you have heard these comments from your daughter and kindly ask that she stop. Say that you are not comfortable with your daughter hearing this. However, it is already affecting your relationship with your daughter, and that is huge. I know you are wanting your daughter to continue the friendship, so the only way may be allowing them to play at your house or other people's houses. Be direct. Even the cost of a friendship that you may not choose to continue, you need to let Jen know that this is not okay. Intimidate her and shame her for thinking these comments were even remotely acceptable towards a child. Children are impressionable, and she's taking advantage of the trust that you put in her. And OP says, I've been thinking about the two little ones playing at ours, but so far I've been avoiding Jen, hence I'd like to find a good way of talking to her. Don't listen to me, non-parent child-free male. I'd slap the crap out of someone doing this kind of crap. The first 6 or so years are so important for development, and to just throw some backwards-ass 1950s crap at your kid without your permission, I would be beyond pissed. It is very understandable that you do not want your daughter to lose her friend, but at the same time, your daughter is becoming more and more distant to you. What is actually more concerning is that your child holds the opinion of May's mum higher to yours? It seems like there is a communication breakdown here. First of all, let me just say that I am not blaming you or questioning your parenting skills, and if it comes off that way, then I apologize. However, as infuriated as you are with May's mum, you should focus more on strengthening that bond between yourself and your daughter because that is more important here. She should hold your opinion higher to May's mum, so perhaps you can speak with the child psychologist on tips on how you can strengthen your bond. And OP replies, Hey, thanks for your input. I think I left a crucial part out of the post. I'm already in collaboration with my psychologist friend on how to approach my daughter, and I've spent the weekend bonding with her, something I've planned before the events. Both my partner and I are active in her upbringing. We even try to involve her into our jobs and make her excited about things. I work in public engagement and have been actively collaborating with her school for the organization of certain activities, with the kids for example, on top of having her help me organize certain activities. My main concern was that she went from my biggest fan and the biggest fan of my work to I don't like you working. And it hurts me because I've put a lot of effort into finding a balance in our lives. Point is that I don't want to forbid my daughter from seeing her friend, who is lovely by the way, rather than win certain respect in her mum's eyes. I messed up my post, I guess. Sorry. And they replied to that, quote, I don't want to forbid my daughter from seeing her friend. You may not want this, but it's what you should do. Your daughter would feel happier inside if she wasn't getting conflicting information. That stuff is very confusing to a child. If you want her happy, you should cut the friend out while your home values are reinforced. I can see no benefit to exposing your daughter to a tug-of-war of ideals. She is 4. The friend won't be the biggest loss. And now on to the update. I posted a few weeks ago about a mother in my daughter's kindergarten that made comments about her stay-at-home mums being better than working mums. Nothing could prepare me for what followed. One thing that I'd like to clarify from all the comments I received was that I am not an absentee from my daughter's life. Despite being a working mother, I am as involved as it gets. Katie has spent as many times at Jen's as May has spent at ours. I've been playing with the girls quite often when they're about, and took them to the park, museums, etc., but this isn't the point. On the Katie frontier, our relationship has made a full recovery, and we are a strong unit again. I am so happy to have my daughter back, and we enjoy our moments together. She has even been asking to come to the office again, and to take her to our next outreach event. So the day after I made this post, Jay goes to pick up Katie from kindergarten, and our favorite mum is there. She asks whether Katie wants to come over and to play, and her and my partner can grab a coffee in the meantime. Jay declines, but she insists. Finally, the girls come out. Then Jen asks the girls whether they want to go play. Both of the little ones agree enthusiastically. Jay has to be the bad cop and say another time because of other plans. He said he thought of letting Jen know why, but he's very non-confrontational. Couple of days go by, and Anna has been doing the kindergarten run, due to Jay running experiments late. Jen asks again for a playdate, and Anna knows to say no. Weekend comes, and Jay gets a text from Jen asking if he's busy, and maybe he could bring Katie over. Jay replied that we want some time with our daughter for the weekend as a family. No reply. In the meantime, Katie had another session with my psychology friend. One of the things that got out is that Jen asks a lot about Daddy. I took the next few days off as Jay was working from home, and I decided it would be nice to spend some extra time as a family. Hence, duty of picking Kate up becomes mine. Jen is there, and I try to start some sort of conversation by politely saying hi. She just briefly turns at me, replies with hi, and turns her head again. That's completely uncharacteristic of her, but I suspect she realizes that we are avoiding any further playdates. I thought of asking if May could come over, but her cold manner discouraged me completely. She says bye-bye to Katie when we are leaving. Okay. A few days after I'm back from work, Katie comes back with 2 cupcakes. 2. One for me, one for Daddy, she explains. Anna said that Jen gave them to her at pickup time and explained who gets what. No cupcake for me. I started joining the dots at that point. We discussed with Jay her odd behavior, and we thought that the best idea was to ignore her, not even thank for the cupcakes, and have Anna pick Katie up from school. Jay is getting his final results for a publication, so he cannot do it from now on anyway. So Jen keeps texting and even calling Jay. Never me. I am an invisible working mother. Jay stops replying and picking up until 2 days ago he did. He asked Jen what's the matter with the calls and texts. Jen starts with, oh, you know, May's missing her friend and has been pestering me the whole time. Only children need their friends, blah blah blah. Then my dear partner decides he has had enough, and he has a go at her, properly. He starts off with how we don't appreciate her comments aimed towards me being a working mother, and that singling me out on various occasions is not okay at all. And then it started. After a while, Jay put her on loudspeaker so I could hear the spectacle. Jen starts saying how unfair it is for him that his woman cannot take care of him, and how she's trying to be sympathetic of him being stuck with a career cow who only cares about her job and not her man and child. Jay is flabbergasted, but he manages to reply that that is not the case, and he's happy with all this, and he needs no sympathy. Thanks, but no thanks. He prefers other people to stay out of our business. Then she goes on about how our daughter is starved of motherly love, and how she can see it in her eyes, and that she's trying to be a mother figure for her. Jay again replies that he does not understand her motivation behind this, and that what she is talking about is completely unfounded. By that point, she is on loudspeaker but didn't realize. She went on a tirade about how she and Jay would be perfect and understand each other. They have both been neglected by their career-starving spouses, and that she can tell from the way that he looks at her that he wants her too. She spent the next few minutes going on about all the signals were there, and how Katie and May are practically like sisters already, and that she knew they could make it all together and be happy. Jay and I were just looking at each other. I suspected that Jen had a crush on him after the cupcakes incident, but that was too much. Jay finally spoke and said that she was being absurd and that he would prefer that she stays away from our daughter and our family in general. I took my turn saying that I heard most of the conversation and I wanted her to delete our numbers and never bother us again. She said that Jay has been lying all this time to me and that they have been sleeping together. All right. She then hung up. That was some crazy crap that we never saw coming. We both blocked her mobile and home number and decided to pull Katie from the kindergarten. She will be temporarily attending the daycare program at Jay's university. Our phones have been receiving some anonymous calls and texts from another number. We are unsure how to proceed on that. Anyway, That was some fatal attraction crap right here. I hope that this is all behind us. And now in the comments, holy crap, that escalated quickly. Good on you and Jay for acting in a calm and mature way. I would second the person who mentioned the restraining order if Jen continues to try to contact you guys. She is clearly a lot more insane than anyone suspected. I feel bad for her daughter. The kind of motherly love coming from a woman like that terrifies me. OP says, poor May indeed. We've been thinking a lot about her and her dad that have to deal with this woman. I'd probably work a lot more than usual too if I was married to her. Yikes. And OP says, true. It's just so sad. Wow. If she continues contact, you may want to pursue a restraining order. OP says, yeah, we thought about this in case she shows up at our place or something. For now, we decided not to make a deal out of it or tell her husband. We really don't want to get involved in her crazy. Oh my god, I was hoping you recorded that crap going down. Oh well, it might not be legal in some states for you to do that. What a plot twist. Jen was living in her little fantasy land and making all these delusions up just so she can spend time with Jay. I'm glad that you have 2 grown-ups in your family to see the truth of the situation. And OP says, I'm not from the States and I don't know how it works here. I'll look into it though. Huh. So she was completely projecting her feelings toward her husband onto you, and wanting your husband as a replacement. Did not see that coming at all. As the other poster said, you may need to pursue this legally if she keeps on harassing both of you. Remember to keep a hold of everything. Good luck with the crazy. And OP says, I don't think anybody saw that. But to use my own child as a vehicle for this, that's just vile. And yes, we will take further action if she doesn't stop. I just hope she does, and we can leave this whole thing behind us. Keep in mind that she may not just harass you, but may also start targeting your daughter. I know she's young, but try to keep your daughter somewhat aware of the situation. Crazy people will do crazy things no matter what age the victim is. And OP says, we are trying to keep Katie as out of it as possible. She asked why she cannot go to the old place anymore, and this is quite miffed because all her friends are there. She has only been at the new place for a few days, and she is making progress. I will discuss with my friend to find a good way of letting her know though. It's so annoying. We can't go to our favorite park, and she's losing all of her daycare friends.